Hey moguls, it's Dr. T here, and I'm coming to you with some amazing upgrades today. So you can mogul on up into a higher reality where you can create whatever it is that you want, building your empires, dynasties, ascending on your amazing trajectory, arriving at your ultimate destiny, and everything that comes from operating in that top mogul reality, which just means being your most powerful, influential you. So, we're focused in today on the upgrade that is about just really breaking the cycle, shifting your habits and patterns, getting out of long-standing patterns, and actually living a life of actual amazing intention. So, we've got to understand that pattern shifting is a 100% vital skill that everyone needs to have. And if we don't have that skill, we will end up repeating cycles and we will ultimately not only feel like we are going crazy, we will be stuck. But just like happens when a ship is slightly off course, it can end up in a completely far off place from where it was trying to go. So we've got to learn to break the cycle that we are in, long-standing cycles that are just embedded in you. We've got to shift these patterns, create new habits, and help you live an amazing life of intention where you can grow rapidly in the direction of your highest destiny, ascending on your trajectory higher and higher up into better echelons of society, into a better, amazing experience of humanity and what the human experience can really entail. And the only way to do that is to break the cycle, to understand you are in a cycle, to literally conquer it, break it, shift it, and literally shift these long-standing patterns, create new amazing habits, intentions, build your most intentional reality so that you can go grow more rapidly in the direction of your highest and most ultimate destiny. Now, how are we going to do that? First and foremost, we've got to understand when we are in a cycle. And these cycles can be obvious because we can be feeling them, we can be suffering, we can be like, here is this fucking shit again, and boom, there it is. We can be aware of a lot of it, and that's important, but it's also the parts that we're not aware of that typically trip us up big time. So you might be in a cycle where you are just literally living out groundhog life, repeating generation after generation exactly what your family system keeps reproducing with very little variation. You might be repeating a cycle with yourself in a partnership, in a company, in a situation, in the community you're in the company you keep. You might be repeating a cycle that goes on and on and on until someone who is the most intentional person that ever happened in your lineage of people that you come from finally says that F that, I am breaking the cycle. I am living in intention. I am creating a new reality. And I am going to actually go up the trajectory on an ascension into a higher level of reality, society, and humanity in general. Because just so you know, whatever suffering you're going through, you are living a certain experience of the human condition, and other people who have ascended are living another experience. And when you come to understand the cycles of reality that you are in and how they are ruling your life, You will step up to be someone that breaks that cycle, shifts long-standing patterns, makes the upgrade into a new reality, and transforms your lineage, your entire family, of course, yourself, your partnership, your community, the nation you live in, and the world at large. But it cannot happen if you let cycles run you instead of you taking charge of your reality and beginning to lead it like the moguls of the world. Okay, so how do we do this? We first recognize that we are at the effect of patterns and cycles and programming that has been going on for centuries and generations, and that we exist as a human species that is so freaking primitive that even when we get smack dab in our freaking face what doesn't work, the pattern still takes people down. So you've got to understand what video game you're in and begin to play it like the mogul that you need to be, tackling reality and these patterns so powerfully and intentionally that you can finally win this video game and ascend into the next level. Understanding the laws of physics, that momentum typically wins, and the laws of physics are that something an object in motion stays in motion until acted upon by another force. Let's take something like long standing patterns of, say, addiction, depression, and let's just mix in anxiety as a family systems, multiple generational repeat cycle. And let's just start with that, which also can be categorized as fitting in the living underneath our potential pattern. So let's take something, I'll just use an example from my life, which is on my mom's side, and I think it's my mom's side, and that lineage, that line of reality that comes through, and I am at the effect of it. And the long-standing, multiple generational depression and all of the jacked up results of that and the things that actually cause that, and have with it co-occurring things like codependence, addiction, dysfunction, living underneath one's potential, getting trapped in that situation in dysfunctional relationships, and being a lifelong patient instead of a 100% mogul leader, power couple partner, empire builder, dynasty creator, and world role model. Let's just take that. So that pattern has been existing. I know specifically of about 9 generations back, but when I really trace it, I can feel that it has a powerful force of nature so extreme that it has literally crushed people in its wake. It has lowered people's frequency down to the very bottom, having generation after generation of women in my family, in my mom's family, uh, utterly be almost destroyed by it, literally almost take themselves out by it, end up hospitalized, end up paralyzed, end up trapped in awful relationships, end up in cycles of addiction and codependence, end up a lifelong slave to it. And that is just scratching the surface. So let's say that that pattern, even if it's just 9 generations back, but it's probably a lot more than that. Let's just say that that runs unchecked, that generation after generation, it just kicked people's asses. It just never got its ass kicked the way that these cycles, patterns, and programs need to. Let's just say, if we just take depression as a core aspect of it, that low frequency experience, which also includes a massive amount of poverty, struggle, difficulty, and again, just living under potential. Let's just say that cycle and its power to keep reproducing itself. Here's more of it, here's more of it, here's more of it. Everything you can think of, suicidality, just all the stuff that is so risky, dangerous, and completely unprofitable and not allowing anybody to rise into their fullest potential. Let's just take that and all of the people that came before me, and I want you to think of something in your lineage, your ancestry that has continued on through the generations. Call it, take whatever you want. You could, if this is related as well, use this one. And everyone and whatever they did, whether they fought it, tried to fight it, whether they just surrendered to it, succumbed to it, got taken out by it, maybe did a little something with it, tried to get help. Doctors didn't know what it was, didn't know how to do it, shamed people, put them in the insane asylum, whatever it is. Women were called hysterical. People were ashamed. They had issues with alcohol, so they didn't do anything about it. Abandonment, violence, everything. Just a shit show. Let's just say that generation after generation, with the best that people knew how to do, and also what people decided and how they wanted to approach it, people just let that thing run them. And I know that in my family lineage, it's been tried to be tackled head on, but I also know that it also was like, oh, you're this depression thing and you're in charge of me. So I'm going to do everything you say. I'm going to struggle. I'm going to not live my purpose. I'm going to just take 19 pills a day. I'm going to self medicate in every way, shape, or form. I'm going to numb myself out and I'm just going to get by. I'm going to become a shopaholic, a foodaholic, a whateveraholic, and I'm going to let this depression whip me into shape, make me spend a bunch of money, take me out of the game, make my relationships dysfunctional, and basically have me surviving each and every day. So that's where depression and the cycle of depression wins. That's where it's running you. And I'm talking about you taking charge of it and becoming more of a pattern shifting warrior, conqueror, someone who recognizes that you're in the video game where reality and its components are trying to rule you and run you, and where you decide to make a shift. So we're taught to just keep reacting, keep band-aiding, keep doing this, keep getting that. The system says, do all these things that still make you effectively like its bitch. Instead of recognizing that ultimately, while we are humans, we are mammals, we are more like creatures who are domesticated more than anybody wants to admit. And if you were in the wild and there was some entity, something, some aspect of reality that was trying to take you down and keep cycling you into what it wants you to do, running you effectively and getting you to follow its directives, you wouldn't put up with that. You would decide, I am going to tackle this head on. I am not going to sit back. I'm not going to run. I'm not going to just put band-aids on. I'm going to make a shift. I'm going to become my highest level self. I'm going to step into the top leadership, the most power that I can bring to it, and I'm going to conquer it and tackle it and make it my bitch. So we've got to understand that these long-standing cycles are literally as if something is attacking you, coming after you, and trying to steal everything that matters to you. Being able to step up into a level where you literally shift the intentions. Like, I can either be in depression or I can be in the full expression of my power. I can either be depressed or I can be expressed. I can either have depression lower me, or I can have depression completely inspire me into a freaking beast in this video game who tackles it on every level, puts it in its place, and replaces it with something better. You are running the video game, and you can create new habits through new levels of intention. So, in place of depression, for example, to give you um, different examples I've used over the years to replace that programming. I'm thinking of several. I've done so many. I'm going to let them come to me. I'm not going to pressure myself. In place of depression is inspiration. In place of depression is transformation. In place of depression is the ultimate destination that I am heading to. And let's go to another level. In place of depression is domination of that depression and my reality. Dominion over myself, how I feel, who I am, and what is going on with me. So, in order to create a new habit, we have to put in a new intention. We have to shift what that energy is. We have to reshape it, remold it, because ultimately, most of these things are just the negative symptomology of energy that has been uh, too low frequency and comes into a shape or a form that is not ultimately working well with our constitution, and we can make an adaptation. So we first have to recognize that we are a warrior for our higher reality, for our higher self, for our ultimate destiny. And when we do that, we are ultimately telling reality what we intend. Instead of reality just keep running the same cycle, groundhog year, groundhog day, groundhog decade, groundhog life, until you look around. And as I have in my life, I have seen people that are in my closer circles where even though they spent their whole life literally doing everything they could to escape these cycles, they almost exist exactly as their previous generation did, the previous generation. And maybe the outfits are different and the window dressing is different, but they're living out the same reality. Someone that spent their life on in a mental health struggle on, disability, likely that that's going to happen the next time, the next time, the next generation, until somebody breaks the cycle and says it stops with me. I'm putting in a new priority of intentionality, and I'm transforming my reality and my ultimate destiny. So we've got to know what we're putting in place of that program. And you can think of it as this thing that, like, almost like in the rock, paper, scissors, like, here's depression, and then the wrapping is the paper's going to come out and just cover it up and turn it into something new. It's a transformation. We have the ability to manipulate programs into new ones. We have the ability to shift that energy, and we must stay with it and stay with it and stay with it, moment by moment, day in and day out, until we, as amazing humans that we are, have literally been more powerful than a program that has been running for decades, generations, centuries, even. Imagine the level of the warrior you must be and the power you must embody and generate with the energy of that negative thing to break that cycle, when all around you and almost every person you are in connection with, they are reliving out the same patterns of their lineage and their entire family system. The human family system, which is meant to be a beautiful, glorious dynasty, of people and co-leaders creating a reality is literally living out the same cycles over and over again, even though we know better. Just to give a quick other example, let's think about the concept of addiction, where people have generations back and they know great grandpa struggled with this and grandpa struggled with this and then dad struggled with this and then your brother struggled with this. And these people are sitting around doing the same friggin' thing. People lost their lives, people lost their families, people died of cirrhosis, people died in car crashes. I've got that on my dad's side. I never knew my grandfather. My father never knew his father. He died in a car accident due to alcohol. Likely, he was out like 3 in the morning. Probably not what you want to be doing when you have 3 young boys and a wife. For some beverage, right? I mean, this is kind of fascinating when you think about this. Like, it's pretty clear. You think that would have made something different in each of us that came through that. My dad, my cousins, and I. And true to form, we've all created a relationship with those substances. And while mine has continued to grow and evolve, and I'm probably the person with the least experience with it in my closest kin, it's still something that we ultimately not necessarily got the main lesson, like this equals death. And with that, the lineage of that has experienced more and more tragedy related to the base issue of emotional issues, which cause someone to be confused about what's good or bad for them. Like, it's good to be home with my family taking care of them. It's bad to be out with a bunch of people at 3 in the morning driving on the streets and getting dead. We've got so many things in humanity where we know better. We know these things create damage, destruction, and yet they have been a part of our reality for so long. They're so entrenched, and everybody keeps around us reinforcing them. That makes it so you must be a warrior for breaking the cycle, shifting long-standing patterns, creating new habits and intentions, and living out a life of your highest level. It's not an easy task, but it is the most intelligent one. It is the highest calling to do so. And this is why I'm sharing this kind of support with you, so you can decide, do I want the cycle to continue with me, or do I want to be the one that is a warrior for changing it? And everything that follows after me becomes the new reality for my family, my community, the world that we live in. So, my invitation to you is to decide, do you want to exist as the cycle and let it run you? Do you want to break the cycle and be the one who shifts it into something new? This is up to you, and you will be taking on millennia of momentum. But I promise you, with that comes power. The momentum of the bad cycle gives you the power of the new one. And if you allow that power to flow through you, but first know what your intentions are for a new one, you will then literally be the vehicle for the new intentions. And as that power flows through that would conquer you, it will literally create something new. I'm really excited for you all to break the patterns, to shift and to create a new reality for yourself so that the collective can experience something new besides this absolute ridiculousness of issues with mental health and substance abuse and things that are just so, we already got the lesson like 20,000 minutes ago. And I invite you to come into this next level and inhabit the reality of the mogul, the positive, influential leader of your world, your power couple partnership, your empire you're creating, and the dynasty level reality of your optimal ascension through your trajectory into the higher echelons of humanity. I invite you to this. I support you. And if this does help you upgrade and you think it's beneficial, please subscribe, let me know this is helpful for you, comment and share what it is that's supporting you the most, what you'd like to see, and let's continue this relationship of breaking the cycle, shifting into your intentions and creating your ultimate destiny. Thanks, moguls, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.